So if I'm a listing agent in one of these four markets, I'm concerned about what 2025 has in store for my business. And so what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to break down what are the worst four real estate markets for listing agents as we end 2024, getting into a housing market for 2025. And then I'm going to talk about what to do about it. Now, it doesn't matter what market you're in, whether you are in one of these four markets or not. What I'll share with you at the end of this video from a tactical perspective on how to approach your business in 2025 will pertain to every single real estate agent, regardless of market. So what do I actually want? If I'm a listing agent and I could wave a wand and say, okay, what type of market do I want? Well, number one, I want to sell homes. I want to list property in a market that has extremely low inventory. This whole battle between supply and demand, if I'm a listing agent, and the reason why things have been so lucrative for listing agents over the past, call it 4 years, is because in every market across the country, inventory were at historic lows. And as a result of that, home prices have shot up. You've looked like an absolute hero to your clients, and things have been very, very good. You could do anything virtually and not screw up the sale of your listing. In other words, anybody that got into the business over the last 4 years could virtually do nothing and get multiple offers on their listings within the matter of a few days, and look like an absolute genius when it comes to getting their properties home sold. Well, things are a little different now, and especially in these four markets. So number one, if I'm a listing agent, I want to sell real estate in a market with low inventory. Number two, I want low days on market. In other words, I want to sell real estate as a listing agent primarily in a market that has very, very high demand. Low inventory, low supply, high demand, so that homes, sell extremely quickly, and their list to sold price ratio is at 100% or more, if I could choose. And then number three, I want to sell real estate in a housing market where home prices are still going up. Now, those are obvious. You're like, yeah, Brandon, no shit. So the reality is that in most markets, there still is very, very low inventory. In most markets, especially with interest rates, hopefully now that the election is complete, interest rates are going to start to come back down, which will help demand. But days on market are still very, very low. And then home prices on a national average, yes, they didn't go up 10, 20% like they have been over the last 4 years, but overall home prices went up another 2-3%, but not in these markets. And by the way, I'm not sure if this is for you or not. You can decide. But if you're a real estate agent, you're watching this video and you're not earning at least $100,000 per year, you feel like you're overworked, you're underpaid, maybe even underappreciated, perhaps it's time to talk. If you're serious about growing your real estate sales business and you're open to having a conversation to determine if working with me as your coach makes sense or not, then click the link in the description beneath this video or simply go to reverseselling.com to book a call. So why are these four markets such a challenge? And I'm going to share my screen and walk you through all the data in just a second. I want you to think about this for a second. And this is why I coach agents in all four of these markets. And these are the conversations I'm having. But if you think about what that consumer hears and sees on the media, all they've been hearing about is sellers market this, sellers market that, home prices are going crazy, multiple offer situations, homes are selling extremely quickly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But not if you're in one of these four markets. So if you're a listing agent and you're going on a listing presentation and you serve and you sell real estate in one of these four markets, that is a very, very, very difficult conversation to have where your seller, because of everything they see on the media, has this expectation of one thing, and then you have to show up as the bearer of bad news. That's a very difficult position to be in. And in often cases, if you are not equipped to handle that conversation, the seller almost doesn't believe you. In other words, if you go there and present the truth and you're unable to articulate that truth in a way that is actually compelling, the seller starts to say, no, that's not what I heard. That's not, listen, dude, my cousin sold this house last year, and that is not what his experience was. Well, that's because last year was last year and today's today. So let's talk about these markets, and then let's talk about, well, what are you going to do about it? All right. So let me share my screen and let's start with market number one, which is Miami, Florida. All right. So when we look at Miami, let me just move a couple things around so I can see. Okay. What you're looking at on screen right now is the year over year change in active housing inventory for sale right now. This is from October 23 to October 2024. All right. Now, this is an interactive chart. So if I just blow this up a little bit and I scroll down to Miami, here, I can make that hopefully a little bit bigger so you guys can see that better. Okay. And I'll just even see if I can do this. So if you look at the data on screen between last year, October 2023, and October this year, 2024, active homes for sale in Miami have shot up to 57%. You could see that last year, this time, there were only 26,000 homes for sale in Miami. Now, as I'm making this video, we're sitting at over 41,000 homes for sale. Let alone if you look at all of South Florida, okay, if I zoom this back out, all of South Florida has a challenge with inventory, with the storms, the hurricanes, and oh, by the way, homeowners insurance premiums going through the roof. South Florida is one of my biggest concerns for agents as we move forward into 2025. Because if we look at not only inventory, not only homeowners premium or homeowners insurance premium, if we look at actually home prices, you can see the entire country on screen right now. You can see right now that and why most home prices went up. But Florida, especially South Florida, most of the homes went down in value. Most went down in value, not up. And so not only are you in a market that's struggling with having insurance companies pull out left and right, you got to find homeowners insurance for a buyer for your client, which is really, really hurting some demand right now. Then on top of that, you've got inventory levels that are double than what they were this time last year. So there are double the amount of homes on the market. You've got housing demand or buyer demand plummeting. That's not great. And then so when we look at the market on a further scale, I love the report that Realtor.com has, and I want to show you this. When we look at the market stats, it's taking 71 days on average to sell a house in Miami right now. 71 days. So when you think about all the real estate agents, and you can see here that they tell you, hey, what type of market is it? Is it a buyer's market? Is it a balanced market? Is it a seller's market? All of you know this, but a seller's market means that there is more buyers than there is supply. A balance means it's even. And a buyer's market, which is what Miami and a lot of South Florida is in right now, means that inventory levels have gone so high that even with buyer demand being lower, there's still more of it than there are homes for sale. So in Miami, you've got less people wanting to buy a house, more homes on the market, that pushes us into a buyer's market. You would much rather be in the opposite, where there is a lot less buyers, or I'm sorry, a lot more buyers and a lot less homes for sale. That's what you would prefer if you were a listing agent. Miami right now is inverted. It's the opposite. It is one of the first markets coming out of the pandemic that has shifted from a seller's market to a buyer's market. And the main reason is, you can see on this map, inventory. And inventory has gone up like crazy, more so than anywhere else in the country. And so that's the first market that I'm really concerned about as we get into 2025. But we'll see if, hopefully, get through some of the issues, and with all the storms, et cetera, and mortgage rates hopefully coming down, that market hopefully makes a comeback in 2025. So that's the first market. The next market we have to look at is Austin. And really, I would just say Southeast Texas. Same kind of issues, right? Not as many issues, but kind of the same issues. If you look at this map, you can kind of see, right? Dallas, Fort Worth, you can see Austin, Houston, you could see Austin. These are all markets where inventory has gone way up. And again, as a listing agent, that is the opposite of what you want. You want to sell real estate in a market where inventory is low. You want to sell real estate where you are in a seller's market, where you have more buyers than there are homes for sale. These markets are inverted. So when we look at Southeast Texas, just like South Florida, look at home prices. You see, when you look across the country, all the places in blue is where home prices went up. And on a national average, like I told you before, home prices went up, I think 2.5%, 3% as a total. But in these markets, home prices actually went down for the first time in years. Same thing happening. Look at Austin, down 4%. You can start to really see some markets, San Antonio, down 2.7%. Corpus Christi, down 1.5%. Dallas, Fort Worth, down 0.3%. Home prices went down. Houston, market's flat. Where everybody else, and again, your clients are hearing about, well, home prices, I just watched the news last night, Johnny. They just said home prices appreciated in value in 2024 yet again. I know, but not here. That's very challenging, right? And so inventory's up, prices going down. So then let's look at Austin. Let's do a deep dive on Austin. Look at Austin. It is pushed almost all the way into a buyer's market. And if you look at how long it's taking for homes to sell, 77 days. If you're a listing agent, I will tell you, if you've been licensed in the last 5 years as a real estate agent, and you're used to selling a house, or listing a house rather, and it's selling in the first week, and now you're sitting here as a result of many things, interest rates, the presidential election, getting into the holiday season, inventory going up, you're sitting there saying, dude, this is very challenging. This is extremely challenging. And again, Austin, Texas is a buyer's market as of October 2024, which means that supply of homes is greater than the demand of homes. And that has not happened in any market in quite some time. And that's why this is such a huge challenge. Okay, fine. Let's talk about the third market, Myrtle Beach. Okay, so if we scroll in here a little bit, you can start to see when we look into Myrtle Beach, inventory up almost double. So this time last year, Myrtle Beach had less than 5,000 homes for sale. You could see in 2021, coming out of the pandemic, look at that, 2,300 homes for sale. No wonder why you could list any property at any price and it would sell with 5-10 offers within the first couple of days. It was like the gold rush. That's when everyone was getting their license, running into real estate. And then what has it done? In 2022, in October, went up to 4,000. Last year, 4,800. 2024, it almost doubled. So in the last 2 years, agents are like, all right, I'm used to this. And then boom, this year, double the amount of inventory. Okay, fine. And then you start to look at home prices. Oh my gosh, Myrtle Beach, flat, no appreciation whatsoever. And then we do a deep dive. We start to look at Myrtle Beach, buyer's market in October 2024, which means that the supply of homes is greater than the demand of homes. 77 days to sell a house in Myrtle Beach. Again, very, very challenging when a ton of listing agents are used to selling their properties. Now, this doesn't mean that there aren't some homes in these markets that are selling with multiple offers over the asking price. That doesn't mean that. But when you look at the whole market, you can see kind of what's going on here. This is going to be another market to look at in 2025. And then lastly, let's look at Atlanta. Same kind of issue here. Atlanta, inventory almost freaking doubled from October 2023 to October 2024. There were 16,000 houses on the market this time last year. There's almost 25,000 homes on the market now. With interest rates being up, US presidential election, et cetera, demand goes down. Presents a very, very, very tough market for a listing agent. Okay, then you look at prices and you start to look at the Atlanta area. And you start to see that things are just flat. They're just flat. They don't have the appreciation that some of the other markets in the Northeast have. And then you do a deep dive in Atlanta. Same kind of thing. Now, Atlanta, still in a balanced market as of October 24, which means that the supply and demand of homes are about the same. But as of lately, with that inventory going up last month, you see where this graph is. It's still in balance, but it's pretty darn close to being in a buyer's market. And that's why I put this on this list to watch out for, because Atlanta could absolutely shift over. It could absolutely shift over to a buyer's market here if inventory doesn't start to sell. 55 days on average to sell a house in Atlanta. Okay, not that big of a deal. Not 77 days. It's not 80 days. But still, it's still taking almost 2 months when a lot of these agents in Atlanta, if you look just back, look, the median days in 2022, less than a month. Less than a month homes were selling for. Even last year, just over a month for almost the entire year. And yes, you've got seasonality during the holidays for 2 months, of course. But even right now in October 2024, 55 days on average. Okay, now let's talk about what to do about it. So if you're in these 4 markets, I just talked about all the challenges that you're faced with, yeah? So if I'm a listing agent in these markets, or a listing agent in any market for that matter, I'm going to focus on I'm going to start to really, really, really study the market. What do I mean by studying the market? Well, here's what I'll tell you. I'm going to show you, let's see if I can, I'll just tell you about something that I do with agents that I coach. And that is this. When I say study the market, yes, I mean studying the stats year over year. Yes, I mean studying the stats month over month. For sure, that's the easy stuff. What I really mean is by studying the market, is to create yourself a property scorecard and go out there and preview active listings that are with other agents, and then actually track those listings from the day they hit the market until the day they come off the market. And then use that data and compare it to how you would have listed that property. Yes, price. Yes, positioning. How would you have navigated that conversation with the seller? You're trying to test your knowledge to reality. And this is what is going to help you to understand the market on a more intimate level. That's number 1. Number 2, based on that exercise, and I recommend you do this. You're not going to do it for the entire metro. I understand that's thousands of homes. But I'm talking about taking a segment of the market that you serve, and maybe you study 2 or 3 listings per week, from start to finish, and you go and actually walk through those properties for sure. But then when you go on a listing appointment, yes, you're going to share that data for sure. But then furthermore, my recommendation is that you start to show sellers their competition in person before you list the property. In other words, you have to go and show sellers, actually physically walk them through properties that they're going to compete with and show them that these are great homes and they are not selling fast. They are taking a long time. You see, it's a huge difference to tell a seller about this stat and that stat versus saying, hey, let's go look at the home down the street that's been on the market for 75 days. The seller walks into that property and says, holy shit, this place is nice. They get a little dose of reality, which is what a seller needs to understand because they're so emotional when it comes to selling their home that your words have so much perceived bias that most of the time sellers don't even believe what you're saying because they're like, oh yeah, you're just trying to get a commission check. Okay, remove all of the emotion and just show the seller. Go take them on a private showing of the homes that they're going to compete with so they can understand, wow, these are really nice homes. And if this thing is taking 75, 80, 90 days to sell, well, then we ought to be very, very strategic in our approach to the market. We better be very, very strategic in how we position the property. Because the days of you just going into a listing presentation and then just listing the home at whatever the seller feels like they should list the home at, it's over. You're seeing expired listings. You're seeing more expired listings now than ever before. It's because if you look at the number of agents we have in the industry and how many of them got licensed at between 2020 and right now, there's a huge number of agents that have only sold real estate in a seller's market. And now that the market, especially in these four markets, have shifted dramatically, they're finding it very difficult to get their property sold because they can't communicate in a way where the seller really understands what's going on in the marketplace such that they make good decisions. They just go in there because they don't know any better and they just do what the seller tells them to do. And they can't shoot the seller straight because they don't even know themselves. So when we talk about being a real expert, you can't call yourself an expert. You can only be an expert because your clients perceive you to be an expert. So what does that mean? That means that we have got to stop telling people things and we've got to start showing them the reality.